Welcome back to Living Mindful Guide. In this deep dive series, we're uncovering the 8 signs of narcissistic abuse, one by one, so you can recognize the patterns, understand what's happening, and most importantly, start healing. If you've ever felt like no matter how much good you do, how kind or loving you are, it's never enough for someone in your life, this episode is for you. Today we're talking about sign 4. You constantly try to prove you're a good person. Let me ask you, have you ever bent over backwards to prove your love, your loyalty, your integrity, just to stop someone from accusing you of being selfish, ungrateful, or uncaring? Do you feel like you're always defending yourself, justifying your actions, or explaining your intentions? Let's talk about why that happens and how you can break free from that exhausting cycle. One of the most common tactics narcissists use is projection. They accuse you of the very things they're guilty of. They lie but call you dishonest. They're selfish but label you the one who doesn't care. They hurt you and then blame you for causing drama. You know it's not true, but instead of walking away, you start trying to prove your innocence. You over-explain. You apologize for things you didn't do. You go out of your way to show them how good, loyal, loving, or supportive you are, and it never ends. Because a narcissist doesn't want clarity, they want control. They don't need the truth, they need the upper hand. Let's say your partner accuses you of not caring because you took a few hours to respond to a message. Even though you were simply busy or taking care of your own needs, they turn it into a story. If you really loved me, you'd have answered. You feel a pit in your stomach. You don't want them to think you're cold or distant. So what do? You apologize, you explain, you start replying faster, you do extra things to make it up to them. And what happens next time you take space? The same accusation, the same guilt, the same chase to prove you're a good partner. Do you recognize this loop? Here's the hard truth, why this hurts so much. When you tie your worth to someone else's approval, you give them the power to define you. And with a narcissist, that definition is always shifting. So you're constantly chasing validation you'll never fully receive. This kind of dynamic erodes your sense of self. You begin to internalize their accusations. You start to think, maybe I really am selfish. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough. Maybe I deserve to feel this guilty. But let me say this clearly. You are not here to prove your worth. You already have it. So how do you stop? How do you break free from the exhausting need to convince someone that you're a good, loving person? Here are a few steps. Step 1. Recognize the trigger phrases. Start identifying the comments or accusations that push you into proving mode. They usually sound like, you only care about yourself. You're being dramatic. You're the reason this relationship is so difficult. When you hear these, pause. Ask yourself, is this true or am I being manipulated? Step 2, stop defending, start observing. You don't have to explain yourself to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, respond with calm truth. That's not how I see it. I'm not going to argue about my character. I know who I am. Step 3, validate yourself. Each time you feel the urge to prove your goodness, try this. Take a deep breath and say internally, I am a kind, honest, and worthy person, even if they refuse to see it. Repeat it until it starts to feel real again. For example, choosing self-validation over self-defense. Let's say your friend accuses you of being unreliable because you couldn't make it to an event. You feel guilty. You want to explain. You start drafting long messages to justify why you had to cancel. But instead, you pause, you breathe, and you say, I understand you're disappointed. I had to take care of myself. I hope you understand too. You don't defend. You don't apologize for honoring your boundaries. You simply own your truth, and in that moment, you reclaim your power. You're likely someone who values empathy. You care deeply. But caring doesn't mean tolerating emotional abuse. Being compassionate doesn't mean absorbing blame for someone else's behavior. Let me remind you, a healthy relationship doesn't make you question your integrity. It doesn't put you on trial for being human. It doesn't require you to earn basic respect. So let me ask you, when was the last time you tried to prove your goodness to someone? What did it cost you, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? You deserve to be with people who see your light without you having to shine it into their eyes. You deserve to be loved without a court case. You deserve to rest in the truth of your heart, not run marathons to prove it. If this episode resonated with you, drop a comment below. Have you been caught in the cycle of defending your character in a toxic relationship? How are you learning to stand in your truth without needing permission? And remember, this is part 4 of our 8-part series on narcissistic abuse. If you've missed any of the previous videos, check out the playlist linked below, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one, where we'll be talking about the emotional exhaustion of cleaning up someone else's messes. Until then, stay grounded, stay kind to yourself, and always remember, you don't have to prove you're a good person. You just have to remember that you already are.